Hey everybody, it's Jason with Parallel Reality coming back with you here today with an article from the Post Millennial. This is dated May 27th. That says 68.4% of global anti-Semitic incidents rooted in far-left ideologies, says a report. It says of the 6,326 incidents documented in 2024, 68.4% were attributed to far-left ideologies, a 324.8% increase from 2023. Gee, what happened in 2023 that could have led to that? I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out in the article, I say sarcastically. So, it says a new report from the Combat Anti-Semitism Movement, or CAM, revealed a global rise in anti-Semitism in 2024, up 107.7% from the previous year. Yep, they're definitely escalating, those folks. The far-leftists, that is. It says the report shows that anti-Semitism emanating from far-left movements now significantly outpaces incidents from the far-right or other sources. Yeah, well, the far-right, I don't know if they're counting as incidents. I think it's going to go in, it might go into it, but the right is, the far-right, not the right. The far-right is just kind of saying stuff, like you see on X, and like, that's kind of it. The left actually has a body count now, after they now murdered those two kids outside, like, what was it, the Israeli embassy or whatever it was, from the time you listen to this, probably a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, there's an actual body count there now. So yeah, one is definitely worse than the other. Because in 2024, the Anti-Semitism Research Center, or ARC, ARC, introduced a structured framework for classifying anti-Semitic activity known as the CHAI system. I get it. I see what you guys did there, which breaks down incidents into four ideological categories. So it's rooted in far-right, neo-Nazi, white supremacist, or classical Christian anti-Semitic tropes, such as conspiracy theories or medieval accusations like well poisoning. It says Holocaust trivialization, denial, and distortion, ranges from outright denial to historical distortions, such as comparing Israel to Nazi Germany or minimizing the Holocaust. And then anti-Zionist / Israel-related anti-Semitism, and this is probably where the far left comes in. It says it involves delegitimizing or demonizing Israel through claims of genocide, apartheid, or settler colonialism, often under the guise of political critique. And yeah, if anybody that's discussing the whole situation there uses any of those three words, they're full of shit and don't know what they're talking about. And then there's the Islamists, as anti-Semitic rhetoric rooted in radical Islamist ideology. Okay. So then, as the subheading said, it said of the 6,326 incidents documented in 2024, 68.4% were attributed to far-left ideologies, a 324.8% increase from 2023. And again, what happened then? It says, by contrast, incidents linked to far-right ideologies comprise just 7.3% of the total, down 54.8% year over year. It says the overwhelming majority, or 96.4%, of far-left anti-Semitic incidents were rooted in anti-Zionist narratives, including accusations that Israel is a colonial, apartheid, or genocidal state, of which it is none of those three, and anyone with half a brain could tell you that. As the CAM report warns that this rhetoric often serves as a cover for anti-Semitism, distorting Jewish identity and targeting Jews collectively rather than critiquing Israeli policy. It says perhaps nowhere has the radicalization of anti-Semitism been more visible than on college campuses, where Jewish students now face unprecedented levels of hostility. Universities, once seen as bastions of free thought, have become incubators of anti-Semitic extremism due to unchecked radical activism, faculty bias, and administrative inaction. And I'm glad Trump is doing what he's doing and stripping things like Harvard and that of like their funding and everything. That's just a start. It says 1,069 incidents of anti-Semitism were recorded on university campuses globally in 2024, representing what the report calls an existential crisis for Jewish academic life. Jewish students have reported being harassed, excluded from student organizations, threatened, and even physically assaulted because of their religious or cultural identity. This surge has been fueled in part by politicized academic curricula that depict Israel as a settler colonial, artificial state, and Jews as settlers, rhetoric that has emboldened anti-Semitic activism among students. Yes, that one little dot in the Middle East that's surrounded by all the Arab countries, who, by the way, are actual colonizers. That one. They're colonizing people. Sure, yeah. Again, you have to be stupid to think that. Because between mid-April and mid-May, the spike reached its peak, aligning with the emergence of anti-Israel encampments on over 150 campuses. These encampments became hubs for anti-Semitic rhetoric, harassment campaigns, and in some cases, direct incitement to violence against Jewish students. The United States was especially hard hit, with campus-related incidents rising 120.8% from 2023 and 198% from 2022. It says this increase has been exacerbated by lax university policies, faculty complicity, and a failure to enforce accountability for anti-Semitic behavior. Radical student organizations, including Students for Justice in Palestine, which is essentially like a step away from being an actual terrorist group, and they should be banned everywhere. Faculty for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voice for Peace, who is they're basically either not Jews or they're like anti-Jewish Jews, so they're retards essentially, played central roles in organizing protests and disseminating propaganda. According to the report, these groups systematically targeted Jewish students through social exclusion, verbal harassment, and the spread of anti-Semitic messaging under the pretext of political activism, often with administrative indifference or overt support. According to the CAM report, the threat from classical far-right sources persists, but the new epicenter of anti-Semitism is now rooted in radical leftist movements, particularly those cloaked in academic or activist language. So the report concluded with a call for stronger policies, educational reform, and moral clarity to address anti-Semitism in all its forms, regardless of the political ideology it hides behind. Yeah, and that's what needed to be done, because this is getting like way out of hand. I mean, they're basically harassing people that have nothing to do with anything. You know, I mean, it's almost like the thing where it's the same sort of mindset that's like telling white people that you need to be ashamed because, you know, white people had slaves, and it's like, well, my family wasn't even here in the United States, and also, like, why am I going to be ashamed of anything my ancestors did that I had nothing to do with? It's the same sort of thing, which is like, okay, I'm Jewish, I have nothing to do with what's happening there. I support everything Israel is doing, and I will continue to do so, and I'm not going to hide behind that. You know, I'm not going to hide that. And I hope they go further, to be perfectly honest. I've said that before as well. They shouldn't stop. But, like, I don't have any say in policy there. You're going to get pissed at me over that? I mean, it's so stupid. Like, these people are looking, they're taking their anger at a situation and just going, yeah, whoever is Jewish or Israeli, we're just going to go after you, even though you don't have any direct say in anything that's happening over there. So it's just stupidity at the highest level. And the people who do this stuff, like what you see on the campuses, are just morons. Like these people right here in these pictures. Anyway, I guess that'll be the sour moment for today. So let me know what you think about this in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.